If you allow a person to speak freely for a long enough period of time, uninterrupted, eventually they will reveal for you who they are and what their true intentions are. Listen twice, speak once. Paraphrasing a quote from Tupac Shakur. This is absolutely 100% accurate. Having spent some time in military interrogation training myself, this is one of the basic tenets. Get people speaking and let them just continue to speak, and eventually you'll learn everything you need to know about them. In today's video, I would like to cover someone from the state of Florida that I'm not sure everyone in my audience has heard of. This is Commissioner Nikki Fried. She is the Commissioner of the Florida Department of Agriculture. Now, there's a very special and unique way that Florida does governance that doesn't exist in other states. Our governor is required to actually share power with 3 other individuals, and that's covered here at Florida Phoenix, where they say a DeSantis-Fried debate breaks out during Florida cabinet meeting. Now, this is over something going on internally, but there's something revealed here that I think a lot of you would find interesting. Fried is the only sitting Democratic cabinet official to have won election statewide. The clash reflected a unique feature of Florida government, that governors must share power with independently elected state attorneys general, chief financial officers, and commissioners of agriculture and consumer services who form the cabinet. Now, in the state of Florida currently, many of you know who Ashley Moody is. That is our attorney general. The governor, of course, is here. Our chief financial officer, Jimmy Petronas. Then over here to the far right is, of course, Commissioner Fried. Now, on her Twitter, she has announced, of course, that she's going to be running for governor against Ron DeSantis. She says something here, and she also says something in her little campaign speech that reveals something about her. She's not progressive or liberal enough for the left. And that's why they're going to more than likely abandon her, and they are already telegraphing this in Politico. It's a very strange thing for, I'm sure, a lot of people to wrap their mind around. How could a Democrat in modern society not be progressive enough or not be liberal enough? Well, she fits the bill. Not only does she talk about rewarding hard work, but she also talks about how business should be empowered to make decisions independent of government. Now, she tries to use this as a club to hit over the head of our current governor regarding the cruise lines, but there's something that she misses in her argument. But I truly believe that everyone, no matter who, deserves a free and fair and open hearing, allowing them to speak and say everything they have to say will give you everything you need to know. Now, just as a caveat, though, this is from her Twitter. Florida Agriculture Commissioner, only statewide elected Dem, running for governor to break the rigged system. Ms. Fried, if you ever hear this, with respect, if any conservative had used that term describing any election in this country over the last year, we would have been deplatformed and we would have been gotten rid of across all social media. You were not even allowed to make any allegation of any kind of debate about the integrity of elections. It wasn't allowed, but somehow you're allowed to use that word to describe a system that actually allowed you to come into a very powerful position in the state. But let's listen to Ms. Fried.
I'm Nikki Fried, and I'm here to break the rigged system in Florida. It's corrupt, it's anti-democratic, and it's time for something new. Like many of you, I've been underestimated my whole life. I was underestimated when I fought corruption as a public defender. I was underestimated when I took on the big banks during the foreclosure crisis to keep families in their homes. And I was underestimated in 2018 when I said a Democrat from Miami could be elected Commissioner of Agriculture. But we did it. We cracked the system and got to work, kicking the NRA out of gun licensing to keep our kids safe, restoring rights and confronting historic racism, protecting our farmers and food supply, and cleaning our environment and addressing the climate crisis. So just imagine what we could do if we break the whole rigged system. We can end 2 decades of corruption designed to block your will and your ballot on healthcare, wages, education, justice, the environment, marijuana, and equality of opportunity. We can build a state that gives power back to you, an economy that rewards hard work with prosperity, not poverty or stagnation. Listen, this won't be easy. Those in power will do whatever harm it takes to stay there. But I've spent my whole life taking on the system. I'm unafraid, I'm tested, I'm ready. And I know you're ready for something new too. I'm Nikki Fried, an underestimated Floridian like you, and I'm asking you to break the system by electing me the next governor of the state of Florida.
Did you catch what she said there? Something about breaking a rigged system, but then breaking a whole rigged system? You see, there's no difference there with respect, Commissioner. There's no difference. The same system that elected you to the position of power that you're in is the same one that elected Ashley Moody, the same one that elected Jimmy Patronis and our governor. And you say something else that is probably in direct contravention to the goals of the National Democrat Party. And this is very recently, June 18. You start your tweet with, in a free market, businesses are empowered to do what's needed to protect their staff and customers. And 76% of Floridians agree cruise lines should be able to safeguard the health of their passengers and crew by requiring COVID vaccines. Now, here's the problem with your statement, Ms. Fried. You make the assumption that the cruise lines were wanting to do this of their own volition. They were not. They were forced to do this by the federal government and the CDC, which now has been ruled in federal court unconstitutional and inappropriate. The CDC has been enjoined from enforcing their orders, because they don't have the constitutional power to do it. And if you would make the allegation somehow that they would have done it regardless of whether the CDC made them or not, let's jump into the Wayback Machine. Do you remember the CDC even giving guidance to the cruise industry, much less shutting them down, in 2003 or 2009 or 2016? No, pardon me. Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. They didn't shut it down. They didn't make them or require them to get vaccines for this or that or the other or anything else in previous years. So they wouldn't have done it of their own volition unless they were being strong-armed by the government. Which takes us back to your statement. In a free market, businesses are empowered to do what's needed to protect their staff and customers. That's a conservative value, meaning they don't have to bake cakes if they don't want to either. And I know that you will know what I'm talking about there, as will most of my audience. In a free market, businesses should be allowed to make decisions that are good for the business based on their own motivations, not based on strong-arm tactics from the federal government. That's why our local government, state government, had to step in, take the CDC to court, and now a federal judge has ruled that, yes, we are correct for doing so. And we have removed the ability of the CDC, the federal government, to intimidate them, and now they can make their own decisions. and we can make decisions that are best for the state of Florida. Now, those of you not believing me, this is Politico. This was last night. She could take down Ron DeSantis, but that doesn't mean the left likes her. Progressives and environmentalists have soured on Nikki Fried. And if you read through this, I'll give you the link. She's just not progressive or liberal enough. And to me, that's a good thing. That's absolutely a good thing. And Miss Fried, you mentioned this rigged system we'll go back to real quick. This is Ballotpedia. The current partisan control of the Florida House of Representatives is 78 Republicans, 42 Democrats. And that's an increase from previous years. Are you saying all of those elections, all of those were problematic or part of a rigged system? What about our Senate? 24-16 control. All of these elections, all of these people, all of it's rigged because it didn't go your way, but somehow you broke the system. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are looking at this picture going, wait a minute, hold on. This doesn't have anything to do with Nikki Fried. This is Trish Regan. You remember Trish Regan, the one who got it right from day one and lost her job for doing so? See, conservatives need a plan. And she tweeted this as well earlier today. Anyone who's not a leftist extremist needs a plan. I don't believe Nikki Fried is a leftist extremist. That's how she got elected in Florida. Now, Trish is talking about countrywide. There needs to be a plan. You see, we already have a plan here in the new Free Republic of Florida. We do things very differently. And this might ruffle a few feathers, but given the choice between a Florida Democrat or anybody of any political persuasion from any other state, I'll take a Florida Democrat all day long. Fun fact, the Florida Department of Agriculture is the one in charge of issuing concealed carry licenses. I have one. I had no problem getting one when Commissioner Fried was in charge. Plenty of Floridians have their concealed carry licenses. Was absolutely not a problem. So that little blurb about her kicking the NRA out had nothing to do with anybody's ability to properly go through the right background checks and get what they want. Now, just to be clear, I don't think Miss Fried would be a good choice for governor at this moment in time. But it will give my audience, this video, an insight into how things are done a little bit differently here in Florida. I've shown in other lives other Democrats that believe in small government, that believe in government staying out of the business of the people and out of the business of business, so to speak. And that was her point. The point that she was missing, in all of this, pardon me, is that all of these cruise lines were not making the decision to require COVID vaccines based on their own internal, business calculus. They weren't doing it of their own volition. They were forced to do it by the feds. And if she truly believes that it's not the position of government to direct them this way, one way or the other, then she should really have a problem with the federal government doing it. You see, that's the point. That's what everybody will miss with this. This is a trap that they're going to try to lay for the governor, the current governor. And I'm sure as a lawyer, he's already seen through it. That somehow he's hypocritical because he's using government to direct this or that or the other with private business. If private business in Florida hadn't been interfered with by the federal government, our state government wouldn't have had to get involved to protect the rights of Floridians. This was the problem. This is the problem. This is not the problem. This is the problem. This is not the problem. We have good people in Florida. We have good and decent and hardworking people in Florida. And like she even said in her speech, she wants to, or she doesn't believe one exists now, but one does, that it's a good idea to reward hard work. And we passed minimum wage. So I don't know how that got into her campaign speech, but minimum wage was passed. We're slowly graduating that up over the next 2 to 3 years. So, Ms. Freed, with respect, I think there are some things that perhaps in your political portfolio that don't quite agree with things that you've said at other moments in time. And that maybe taking a look at those, you might understand that you are really, really, really far away from the leftists in charge in D.C. You are very far away from them in your value system. But once again, if you let a person talk long enough, you'll hear their true intent. Listen twice, speak once. Tupac Shakur. Like, share, subscribe. God bless, and we will see you tonight on Twitch.